Hey, what's up everybody? Lawler here, your inside source for all things Rocket League. We are officially into our second week of the winter split for RLCS, and with that means the open qualifiers for the grid for Europe. We still don't know what teams are going to be competing with the other ones that have automatically qualified, our top 10. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down not only the results of the open qualifiers, but some of the notable matches that you want to look forward to in the coming week. But before we get into that, as always, if you guys enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up, as well as hit subscribe, turn on notifications, all that kind of fun stuff, as well as check out the description for any information you may need, whether it be a link to this bracket that we're going to be talking about, as well as my social medias if you want to drop those a follow as well. But with that said, let's get straight into the video. So the winter split has officially kicked off. Last week we had North America grid. This week we have the European grid, and the open qualifiers is basically determining which teams are actually going to be playing in it. If you guys don't remember from the fall split, the top 10 teams that had their performances and their points in association get to keep their spots. They will be continuing on. We are trying to find the final 6. We've got the open qualifiers, which is 32 teams that all signed up and are trying to compete to the best of their abilities. The top 4 from the open qualifiers will then go and play against the other teams in the closed qualifiers, which we'll talk in the second half of this video. That will then be playing out tomorrow, or technically today when this video comes out, and then we'll find out the remaining 6 out of those, and that determines who ends up rounding out the rest of the teams that will be playing in the grid. For this split at least. So with that said, let's take a look at the bracket, and there's gonna be a lot of teams in here that most people don't notice. The ones that I'm gonna be focused on are You Choose, probably Game Up, Woo, Swag, obviously for reasons of Kuxir and Flakes. You got Nordavind coming back. Redemption had some good results recently, and probably something like Atlantide. Atlantide has had some decent results. And then you have other ones, obviously, like Wolves and everybody else that have had good results as well recently. But there's kind of like a handful or so of teams that you can make an assumption based upon how the results were going to play out. The biggest one that I think needs to be talked about is obviously Swag. For those that don't know Swag, this was Kuxir and Flakes putting a team together, and they were trying out either Rehzzy or Ease. Initially, they ended up going with Ease in their first chance of everything in the regional event. They fell out pretty quick. This time around, they do end up using Rehzzy, and the results are significantly better, but not convincing enough for me to be confident in them in the closed qualifiers. They do start off with a 3/6.45i. They then beat Nordavind. They then beat Game Up, which is probably the biggest match that I was pretty interested in. Game Up has obviously had some results in regionals in the past, but then they go and they beat Super Mode. Super Mode consists of Mingo, Torres, and Killero. 3 players that I personally do not know. Haven't seen them in pretty much anything result-wise when it comes to just brackets and stuff. They play in like Nice Cactus and stuff, and they play in the field in Division 2. But they haven't really played in open qualifiers. They haven't tried out in anything else. If you look at the results from other results, like the fall regionals and stuff, they always fall short and lose to teams like Name Seekers and stuff like that. So we haven't really gotten to see them towards the top, but they have taken notable wins over teams like Tryhard and otherwise. In other things, they've brought Galaxy Racer, I think, to 5 a few times. So they do have some competitive results. But when it comes to the matches that matter, they just miss out on the like top 32 or the important stuff. And unfortunately for them, that happens again here, where they do drop to Swag in the winter round 4, so they don't qualify. And then they drop down to the lower round 6 and end up losing to Woo. How much of that is Woo coming in with momentum through a lower bracket, while the other team has to sit and wait for that to play out? That's undecided, but unfortunate on the receiving end for them. So that's kind of mostly the top bracket, the things I want to focus on. Game Up falling a little bit short. You'd expect a little bit better performance than them. Same thing with You Choose. You Choose has knocked out teams in the past and has kind of pushed through in other tournaments as well, but in this time didn't really show up all that well, if I'm being completely honest, because as soon as they drop down, or they end up beating Maze Runners, and then they end up losing to Arcane. So trying to kind of get into that lower round 5 to be in the top 6, top 8, but they ended up just missing out on that. So Arcane and the rest just kind of bounce back. The other team to pinch to is Woo, which is Kasai, Parka, and I'm going to butcher this name. I think it's Forase. That's probably pronounced way different than the way I'm saying it. Another full French roster, all French players. Something about that region just produces really talented teams, and they are the other team that ended up qualifying after a tough Uppers. They ended up losing right away, or earlier on, I should say, to Game Up in the second round. Yeah, the second round they lost to Game Up 3-1. You're looking at the results and you can't. I think that's the only issue I have with these brackets is the results get submitted. We don't get to know the finer details of if they were close, if they went to overtime or anything like that. We won't know that until today's matches from when you guys are watching this video. But yeah, I was surprised to see Wu drop down, but then they went on a pretty good run. They beat a team in lower round 2. They beat Yeet. They beat Team Orange. They beat Arcane, and then Super Mode as well to qualify. So they dropped down pretty early and then hit a streak. And another team that was similar to that was also Wolves. Wolves is obviously a team that we've been keeping eyes on since the recent addition. Louis P has been crushing it, and Oli coming over from Barrage, and then you got Rix Ronde as well. So this was a team that was kind of like a culmination of multiple, and they've had good results to back. So it was surprising for them to drop to a team by the name of White Demons right away. Dorito, Ghostfire, and CRR. So it was really weird to see that happen. They got swept, but then they didn't lose a single game in the lower bracket. They beat Invicta, Backseat, Drifters, Game Up, Sauce Squad, and Atlantide to qualify. Out of all those matches, they dropped 3 total. So in that entire lower bracket, you're telling me you have to play every single match. That's a long day for Wolves, which is where arguments of the lower bracket momentum can really come in handy. But to win that many matches and drop so minimal is actually pretty crazy. I mean, like I said, they went 18-3 in that lower bracket run. So that's kind of insane. So congrats to Wolves for qualifying. They're your other team. And then the other team from Uppers, which Redemption is a lot of people have been talking about how you should keep your eyes on them, and rightfully so. I think Cash, Mike Boy, and Aslan, all very talented players, kind of leftovers from other teams. Cash obviously bounced around a bit. Aslan just got dropped recently from his roster. And then Mike Boy's situation has been a little bit more interesting, and part of the reason why obviously the team disbanded was because Mike Boy did find a home elsewhere with these 2 players. So it is kind of like a new version of the leftovers, and I think Redemption's a better name than that. So it's good to see that they are rising to occasions and doing it through the upper bracket. So your 2 teams from upper bracket is Swag. If you guys don't remember Swag, again, as a reiteration, that is Flakes, Kuxir, and Rehzzy. E's also on the bench on this one. So Rehzzy is playing. Redemption, which I just talked about, which is Cash, Mike Boy, and Aslan. You then also have Wolves. Wolves recent addition with Louis P, Rix Ronde, and Oli. And then you have Wu, a team of all French players that I personally do not know. I don't pay attention, I would say, enough to this kind of up and coming, but congrats to them. Kasai, Parka, and Forase. I don't know how to say your name. I apologize, but a full French team that could possibly make some damage happen. So that wraps up the open qualifiers. If you look at the closed qualifiers, and this can be a little bit more confusing because of some teams disbanding, you do have teams that are coming through here that are going to be competing. In total, we have 15 teams, and 4 of these obviously are then coming from those open qualifiers. You've got, again, Redemption, Swag, Wu, and Wolves. Some names in here are going to be a little bit confusing. The biggest one is FC Barcelona. Obviously, this is a team that got picked up. They dropped their old roster and then picked up a new roster with Taz, Blurry, and Rizx. That is the new FC Barcelona. It is not the old team that completely disbanded and then their members went everywhere, with Devo going to Guild, Itachi going to Giants, and then Ronicky going to Liquid. So keep that in mind. You do have a new version of Singularity already there with Scrub, Killip, Rehzzy, and Hibbs, because Scrub took Smilla's spot again. Solary there, Dignitas, Fadeaway. Basically all the teams that were like 10 to 17/16. Fadeaway came in as a qualifier spot because of them. Like Chalk disbands. Fadeaway played in a match against another team. They ended up winning that best of 5, so they get the qualification spot. So you do have a bunch of teams that kind of ranked anywhere from like 11 to like 20 area. Those are the teams that are in this spot. Team Queso, you guys should recognize as the former Magnifico roster. Train Hard being the German team. So there is a little bit of some parity in here, a little bit more of some confusion. But if you look at these, it'll say either the grid fall, which means they're teams that competed in the grid, or fall point rankings. And people that have performed well over the course of all of fall get a bit of a nod and a little bit more of an auto bid. So keep that in mind. The only downfall of this is the brackets have not yet been made. We do not know who is playing who or what matches are happening. But I can tell you, if you guys do have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, let me know in the comments down below. I will do my best to get to them. Or the other thing you can do, I'll probably be watching these matches live on my stream. If you guys go into the description, you can find my Twitch channel. Otherwise, it is twitch.tv/Lawler. Should be displayed somewhere in here. If you guys do have questions about that, come hang out with us live. We'll be watching these matches. We'll be breaking down what's going on. As long as they're streamed, hopefully they're streamed. That's always the difficulty with some of these open qualifier matches. That doesn't always happen, but some of these matches are going to be pretty dang good. So hopefully we'll keep an eye on that. And if I can't watch them, I will at least do my best to keep you guys up to date on the results, and we'll keep tabs on it during the stream tomorrow. So that should answer a majority of the questions of things going on. And if it doesn't, let me know down below. That is going to wrap it up for this video. Again, appreciate the continued support. Trying to hit 30,000 subs by the end of the year, and we are slowly trickling in that direction. So I do greatly appreciate the support. If there's any ideas, concepts, or anything you'd like to see me talk about, any things you would like me to talk about, let me know in the comments down below as well with your suggestions, and I will possibly do those as well. But that is going to wrap it up for me, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.